Thanks for joining us. So kids as young as in middle school working graveyard shifts using harsh chemicals in the extreme heat to clean up dangerous equipment in slaughterhouses. Those are just some of the details from one of the most shocking child labor lawsuits our region has ever seen. But if you blink, you just might miss it. This week, the company that is accused of all of that quietly agreed to settle with the Department of Labor. But before simply just moving on, we wanted to take some time to talk about what we know about these accusations and what's being done to make sure this does not happen again.
Yeah, Jana, the federal government bars anyone under the age of 18 from working in meatpacking plants, even to clean them, because of how hazardous that work is. But for several weeks now, a reporter with the Star Tribune has been trying to go beyond just the court filings to understand how and why so many miners ended up doing exactly that.
When the U.S. Department of Labor first accused Wisconsin-based Packer Sanitation Services, Inc., or PSSI, of employing at least 50 underage workers in 3 states, including several at JBS in Worthington and Turkey Valley in Marshall, seemingly everyone, including those companies, expressed shock.
They've all said, we didn't know about this. We don't want to be employing people under the age of 18, and yet it's happened. That's the big question right now, is how did this thing happen that we thought maybe we had passed by from Upton Sinclair's The Jungle a century ago?
Pursuing that answer took Star Tribune reporter Christopher Von Dracek and photojournalist turned interpreter Liz Flores to Worthington, where they found the opposite of shock.
Some of the people we've spoken with in Worthington will oftentimes describe it as even tougher work than working at the slaughterhouse itself. First off, you're working at night, the sort of graveyard shift, and then they're going to school in the morning, right? And so they're falling asleep in school. The sort of high-pressured hoses can be very hot. And in this case, we do know that at least a few of the individuals who were employed in Grand Island had chemical burns. In some instances, we've seen people who were as young as 13 who were hired to do this kind of labor.
What sticks with you from those conversations?
Oftentimes the desperation and the fear that people will reflect or express about their precariousness and even speaking with me, because there is a fear that to share details about labor abuses or labor violations would put them at risk or put the community at risk.
Despite the danger, he says many workers in Worthington felt compelled to work for financial reasons, with many expressing confusion that it was illegal. A PSSI office just a block from the high school added to that confusion, along with the Department of Labor alleging an employee there was making it even easier.
An individual was helping fabricate identification documents for potential prospective workers. So of course PSSI, this Wisconsin-based company, turned around and said, well, it's rogue employees, right? We have a company-wide stricture against hiring minors, but there could be rogue employees.
A judge has now called for more company oversight as part of a newly signed consent order. PSSI agreed to it this week, but also effectively brought the lawsuit to a close.
They conceded and agreed to a permanent injunction against them hiring minors, which was illegal anyway, but there's a sort of raft of stipulations they're now going to be imposed upon them. Most importantly, they'll have to hire a third-party consultant who for 3 years will kind of be watching the company like a hawk.
People might be surprised to hear that that's it.
Yes, no, I agree. For the entities that own the companies, this is now a kind of paperwork matter, and that does, I think, smack a little bit of injustice. And so for me as a reporter, I don't think it is the end. And for the families down in Worthington and in Marshall, it's not the end.
Do we know what is happening to those kids?
We do not, except that they are no longer supposed to be employed by PSSI. We know that many of them are students, but we don't know at this point, beyond that, whether there'll be any kind of criminal charges on behalf of abuse done to them. The schools have not shared a lot of details about any kind of programming they're doing for these kids, and so we're still trying to ask those questions.
And Christopher says he will keep filing reports in the weeks and months to come in hopes of getting some of those answers about the kids and to see if that oversight makes a difference. By the way, we'll have a link to his reporting along with this story on KARE11.com. Jana.
Every time we talk about this story, it just gets more and more abhorrent. Thanks so much, Kent, and thanks to Christopher for his reporting.